Hello, Lorenzo Hickey here with Tech Talk, Lorenzo and Friends. And I am super, super honored today to have one of my greatest friends in the last year. And we're going to talk all about how and why, but most importantly, somebody who you all need to know. Somebody who has an avenue of technology, because that's part of the show, but also somebody who's got a great heart and a great vision and just compassion for human life and women in particular. And so we're going to talk about how we met and all the things that go along in our tech show. But let me just introduce Christine Howard, who is a fabulous, fabulous human being, the only kind of people we have on our show. So Christine, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Oh, Lorenzo, I'm so grateful to be here. This is going to be fun.
Well, we have so many different places to go. I swear when we started the pre-show in sort of the green room, we started thinking, well, we could go on these different angles, and we're probably just going to have you back. We'll do this again. But what's really, really exciting for me is the synchronicities of how we met, the people that have crossed our paths, and including my co-host and co-sponsor on the show, Becky Norwood. So let's talk about sort of that journey from your perspective, which is this is not scripted. So tell me about how you remember how we met and connect the dots for us. And let's honestly people that we like.
Well, I think the first time I remember meeting you was in San Diego, and you were at one of Robert's events,
App Bros,
about the app world, right? We were already in the app world together, but didn't know each other. Mm-hmm. And you spoke on you stood out obviously from there, and I don't know that we connected really much beyond that, other than being in the meetings together in the app meetings, and we'd share what we're working on, where we're at. But the pivotal moment for me is when we were in the our elite group, and Robert was talking about getting each one of us finding an accountability partner. And in the back of my head, I said, I want Lorenzo to be my partner. And then you had just messaged me, do you want to be my partner? And so that I think was the defining moment of like the start of our, working together. But there was one other synchronicity that we have a mutual friend, Alicia Ashley. Right. And so after that meeting, at the AppRose meeting, and I had mentioned this guy, Lorenzo, or she said, a friend of mine's going to come see me or something like that when you were driving back home, and come to find out it was you. So it's like, destined to connect one way or the other. And so that's what I remember for the beginning of us.
Yeah, that's terrific. And so and then we started talking more. So eventually we, had the Alicia connection, and Robert at AppRose is a good friend of ours and our technology partner with our app business, which we'll talk about in another segment. But the other thing that was really interesting is you're also part of Becky's world in Spotlight Publishing. And yes. You're an author in her world. I'm an author in her world. I'm also one of her tech support groups and teams, right? So we had that connection, and it's just been fabulous. And what's lovingly cool about that is your book just launched. So one of the things I want to do is we've kind of got that, how do we know each other out of the way? I'm going to come back to another topic as how we're accountability partners, because I want to craft a new thing that I heard from somebody else, by the way, but about being a business best friend, right? And so we're going to come back to that. But what I want you to do is first talk about your book. I'm going to scroll some stuff to get contact information, but you have fabulous news. Tell me what's going on.
It's called, I've got it. I carry this thing with me everywhere. So I always knew at some point I knew I was going to write a book. I just didn't know when, and I wasn't trying to force anything to happen. 5 years ago, I had these major life transitions happen in my life. Mm-hmm. And out of that the major transitions in life, I started living my life differently. And not only living my life differently, my whole coaching perspective shifted, like what I wanted to coach on. And I've been a coach 20 some years. And it was always about like, I'm going to take you from where you are now to where you want to be. And I didn't care what it was. I just had the coaching methodology down. But with when I went through my awakenings, I call it, and really started looking at how I was living my life, I really shifted everything. So I started new programs for in my coaching business as a result of it. And then there was this one moment where it kind of hit me that now is the time to write the book and to really take my stories of how I was kind of asleep to my life and how I was ignoring a lot of things in my life, and then how I had these universal wake up calls, and then now what's transpired. So it was a labor of love. I had worked on it 3 years, 9 months, and like 2 weeks from the time I wrote the first pen to paper the first time to bringing it to life. And it took a lot of inner gumption for me to keep moving and put it down when it was difficult, and like, what do I need to really take it to where I want it to be? Because these are some really personal stories, like moments when I'm sitting there in tears, when I'm praying to God, when I'm like just so at a low point. And I wanted to make sure that everything was really coming from a very intentional place, and what I share and how I share it, and then to give those tools. So it feels so good to have it be out in the world, and to have a stack of books here, and plans to help connect with more women to bring this new paradigm to the world.
Well, I love that. There's so many things to unpack every time I think about our conversation. So number one, I want to honor you for that, because one of the things we first met in we're a software technology accountability group, but we end up being a personal life accountability to each other, right? So I think that's really
absolutely
cool. So I just want to honor you, say you standing in your integrity, standing in your power, but you're also standing in your soul work, your soul life's purpose work. And what's really bizarre, because this isn't scripted. So remember, you're talking about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, so in human design, so we are both 5-1 manifestors in human design. You're all going to go, what the heck are they talking about? Just hold that thought, because we're really not going to get to it. But we are very, very close in our designs, in our human designs.
Yes. And
what I just realized in your conversation just now was that 5 years ago is when I transitioned as well. And I made a very specific set. So Chiron is a planet. I'm no astrologer, but I'm a learner. But Chiron crossed some sort of our line, and because we're both 5-1, we're both July birthdays, or Cancer, right? In birthdays, in terms of our sun sign, and we're probably both sun rising and sun moon. We are very similar, but you're the female version of me, and I think I'm the male version of you. And
yes.
What ends up happening is we have so many bonds. But that one, Christine, just hit me. Like 5 years ago, I went through the same thing. I ended up getting divorced.
Wow.
I had taken care of my mother-in-law for almost 4 years. And I was being servant. And what I realized through my whole life is that there's something more calling to me, and I needed to transition. So in big picture terms, and no disrespect to anybody in our lives, I ended up getting divorced. I ended up, falling in love and finding my soulmate. All these things happened. But because I was intentional on serving my soul first, and then living into my life's purpose. Mm-hmm. And what I love about what you've done and how we've connected on so many different levels is that that's what you're doing. And so what I see in you, and what I think you see in me at times, I'll let you speak for yourself, is we see somebody who really wants to make a difference in people's lives, but we're designed to do it in large scales. We're not designed to do it, hey, I'll have a coach. So what I see you transitioning, and I'm going to speak to this, is you've taken sort of the person that I've introduced you to, Sabine, which is yet another contact we had, and you've taken your vision of human design and your understanding of yourself, right? So that's part of this personality, part of this vision of me, is get to know who you are from the inside out, right? That's my Elevate brand. And so you're getting to know yourself from the inside out, but you transitioned because lunarly in astrology, you were ready to do that. So do you believe in that stuff? And
100%.
You realize you're living your purpose now, you're on that path? Talk about
100%. Well, and I love that the parallel for using the word soul. And when I started going through all those transitions, really what came to me was a deep, deep desire to live my soul's purpose, to listen to my soul calling. It's on the title of my book, right? The
Yeah,
soul-centered calling.
right.
And so that became just this big fire within me that above everything else was to hear, listen, and honor what was calling to me. And I had seen clearly, of course, hindsight's 2020, how I was ignoring time and again what
Mhm.
my purpose was, the bigger vision of my life, right? And I was very much stuck in the 3D. So I totally resonate with you on our parallel in really desiring and deeply committed to um, living our soul's purpose, for sure. And everybody uses words a little bit differently, which is fine. But yeah, as long as we are really tapped into that deeper part of ourselves and listening and bringing that forth is where all our power, our fulfillment, our joy, I believe, is sourced.
Yeah. It was so funny because I'm on a road trip, so I'm not in my normal office space, and I'm at my daughter's house, one of my daughters, and on the road, was listening to a random song, random things, and Robert Holden came on, and Robert Holden wrote a book, Shift Happens, and my company brand is Shapeshift, right? Shift the way you think to shape your world. And so I met with Robert in a week-long seminar about 8, 9, 10 years ago, something like that. And so here I am driving, and all of a sudden Robert shows up, and I hadn't heard of him for 8, 9, 10 years. I mean, I don't study him. I've got his book and I listen to him. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because what you were just talking about is I want to unpack for our listeners, right? They're authors, teachers, speakers, business owners. There are all these people that are listening to us that they have the uniqueness about you. You have a specialty in your world. And the only way you can awaken that, and one of the things that you do, Christine, for women in particular, is you help awaken them to who they are and their abundance and their person, so that they can see how they can shine bright in their soul purpose. So we don't want everyone to think, oh, okay, I've got to go do soul work. What we want you to understand is if you take the time to create space for yourself, and I want you to do some of your techniques and give some takeaways here. But what the real message, and what I love about listening to you and what you do with people and women, is you really create a safe place for them to be intentional, for them to think about who they are. But what the benefit of that is when you start to get into your what I always called alignment or flow, like where your heart, mind, and body and soul are all working together.
Right.
You get up and your days are effortless. Your
Yeah.
days are just like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I'm going to do today, but I got these things I want to do. And the only way that you can accomplish things is to have a level of focus and clarity. And that's what you've been working on. So talk through some of your programs, and we had some fun naming creation opportunities, but talk through your program and give some takeaways for the audience about how best to get alignment and take this journey, because it is it's one step forward, but it's a lot of work. It's not just days, it's weeks, it's months. So talk about that.
Right. So, so when you say programs, do you mean like my specific offerings kind of thing, or just in
talk
general?
about how you teach and how I teach,
right? Perfect.
Get
Thank
people
you.
to that frame of mind.
Yeah. Good. Well, a lot of this is actually in the book, and there's a lot of great practices. And I love what you said about, it does start with you pausing and making a commitment to you. I know for me, and I wish I had my prop here, I have this big sword, and it's like, let's put a stake in the ground.
Yep.
And I did that, like, physically and energetically. I put a stake in the ground for my highest purpose and for my highest expression of myself. So, I help women to really, it has to start with that pause and that reflection of, like, where am I now? Who am I being? And I help women to get, and men too, but how many of us live here? And this was me. This was one of the big transitions. I lived in my head. I was thinking, I was strategic. I was trying to grasp for things to happen. And so so again, I teach everything that I learned for myself,
Yeah, yeah.
and whether it was
Teach what you
my
know.
own discovery, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, or a mentor,
Mhm.
but we have so much wisdom in our bodies, whether you call it your intuition, your higher self. So I help women to get still and get quiet and start to peel back those layers of conditioning that we all have. Like,
Yes.
we are all conditioned, and we may not realize all of those patterns. And not that we have to have it all figured out, but we have to pause long enough to start to become aware of those repetitive things that maybe aren't working in our lives,
Mhm.
and peel back to get to that point where we're listening to our truest self. And there's a lot of different exercises I teach for that. And it's fun. It's uncomfortable because we're not taught these things, but in time, you start to really enjoy that inner journey, and seeing what comes out of it. We realize, or I help women realize, they don't have to push and work so hard. It's really, you can get into, like you said, that flow state where things are coming to you, and you're really just a channel for this, your higher self, your radiant self, your true self, to come out into this 3D version of you. So it's a really fun experience when you allow yourself to step into that safe container, and then you can start to just be in curiosity and wonder, which is a huge thing I teach women how to do. Again, we're so used to thinking, let's become, that childlike curiosity and wonder, and be open to what thing is beyond, that divine message that can come through for us. So that's a bit about how that
Yeah.
unpacking starts.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm going to draw the parallels again, and then I'm looking back. I'm thinking dates is somewhat irrelevant, but the process that I went through is so similar. So I'm going to share this with the audience as
Okay.
well, because I set a word for a year every year, and I did this about 7 years ago. And the first word that I used was the end of the year word, so it wasn't like a full year, right? It was like, okay, I got to get going. And what I said is, I used the word purge. And
Purge. Okay.
I'm going to purge stuff, people, things. And it was physical stuff. It was emotional stuff. It was all those kinds of things. And I'm going to purge and make some space for what needs to come. So this is a shameless plug for my new friend, Robert, or not Robert, but J.W. Wilson. And he wrote a book called The Learning Code. And he's going to be on a show. But the reason that I bring up the learning code is you have to stop and relax, and you have to potentially meditate to create space to let your mind rejuvenate, to allow the things to come in, the synapses in your brain to expand again and go. It's like taking that deep breath. So what the message I'm trying to leave people is purging or creating space or taking time for yourself. And you said to stop and be quiet. Love those words. And I think they really resonate with women, but in general, anybody. But love that, because if you're quiet, you allow things to come into your world. So fast forward. So the first word is create, purge, or create some space. But then I spent 3 years, and what I love is the way this came together. Is the first one was a C word called clarity, and then the second word was purpose, and the last word was reveal. That was 3 years, folks. Clarity for a year,
Wow.
purpose for a year, and reveal for a year. And that's when I wrote my first book. That's almost done. In fact, I need Christine to give me a hard time about this, because my first book is called A Soul Affair.
Ooh.
And it was about those years where I created clarity, purpose, and reveal. And I did that, and I met people like Marsha Weeder, and I worked with one of my coaches, my psychic intuitive, Joanne Garzelli, and all these women in my life. And I call it a soul affair because all these women, I allowed them to I got out of my head and into my heart, but I got out of my heart and into my soul by working with these wonderful women and human beings. And there's a few men in there, but these were women that changed my life, and I gave them my soul. That's why I call it a soul affair, because I needed love and purpose. And what came out of that, and I don't know where this show's going today, but these are all important things. So what came out of that for me was two things. One is it's a speech now. Don't do CPR on yourself. Clarity, purpose, and reveal, CPR. Since it's the acronym, so don't do CPR on yourself, right? Which is what you do. This is why I love what you do, because you can't do this alone.
Right.
You do it in collaboration, in creating in a space, and that's what you do so well. And you do it because energetically, your vibration in your person is so powerful, right? And that's part of your
Mm,
design, which is what you're learning about, right? So it's just to
right.
connect the dots. It's just a super love fest around who you are.
I
But
love it.
that's how I got there, right? So CPR is about women in my life. And so my book, which will come out, in fact, I'm going to say this out loud, 2022,
I'm gonna write it down.
will be out there. But it's my journey
Awesome.
of working with different people that have made a difference, right? And people like really amazing
Yeah.
human beings, Marsha Weeder, and I did things with her. So back to the point. So you have a process, you have a routine that people go through, and you get really clear on yourself. That is amazing, right? So when we come back, we're going to talk about, after this little segment, we're going to talk about how having a BFF in business, right, aligned with masterminding and creating in the right space, and then creating tools to use that, which is our tech talk, how you're building out an app in your space, in your programs that really bring it all together for women. So let's give it a second here. Let me key this thing up and go into my brand stuff, and we'll be right back in a second. All right, welcome back. I'm having a blast. I don't know about you, Christine, but this is real stuff. This is
Always.
we're not making this up. We're not drinking, coffee. We're just living life.
Yeah.
That's what you get when you
Yeah.
have basically.
Totally.
I can't remember Pat's name, but I'm going to give him credit for it. I'll put it in the notes, the show notes. But I was on a Women Network. My partner Karen, she had a speaker, and one of the things he talked about was business BFFs, and I realized that's what you are to me. So basically, this is a show and tell. Like, oh, Christine, you're my business BFF, right? And so
I agree.
what creates that? And the reason I want to honor Pat, and because at the end of the day, people don't steal stuff from other people. You got to honor them, right? You got to be integrity. So again, I apologize for not knowing his name, but what I love about what he does, he's a show guy and done a lot of videos and a lot of podcasts. But he basically says a business BFF is somebody that you can call whenever you need to and just chat. It has accountability component associated, but there's somebody that's not in your space or your place. Like, you and I, you're a coach, you do a lot of things, and we have friends that we know and we work together. But I want you to contemplate this idea, and I want you to potentially look at and sharing this with others. Is we all need somebody that has our back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Somebody that has our back. And what you and I believe, and I don't want to speak for you again, but I believe we've come to the place where we know about each other. We kind of know about our designs. We know about what we like. We know enough about each other. We know about our loves and our love interests. We know about our life and our business. We know a lot of things about each other. And that gives us a great space to talk about spirituality and all these really great things. But what makes it great in terms of BFF is I can just call you and say, hey, I needed some help, or I got an idea to run by you. So you have somebody to bounce off business ideas. That's the framework. So what I want you to think about and share with not only the audience, but your view of how you can incorporate this or how this works for your community, because you kind of are creating business BFFs in your masterminds, right? So
right,
not words in your mouth, but it's like that's kind of what you do. So it's like,
right.
you got this person that does all this stuff. She's super cool. And you're actually delivering something just like this for your community. So talk about how react to this and tell me what you think.
Absolutely. Well, and full disclosure, I have another BFF. So
Really?
I know I can have two, and it is a gal from my mastermind. And the thing I love about this concept is that, and part of why I love working with you, Lorenzo, is that you have things I don't have, right? You have experiences, you have wisdom, you have processes, whatever that is. And so there's parts of who you are in your business and as a person that help elevate me. And so when I look to my partners, it's like, how can we elevate each other? Like, it is about what can I give, but also what can I get? And I think that's super important. Like I'm setting my sights high, right? So I'm like, okay, Lorenzo's going places. He's got it. He's got a lot of vision. He's got a lot of action. He's spiritual. Like there are all these components. So I had the clarity of like what was important to me that I felt I needed to elevate to the next level. And that's what I saw in you. And then in the mastermind, when I started a mastermind of local gals a year and a half ago, and the thing was, I knew I needed a group to bounce my ideas off. I needed accountability. I wanted like this community of women that were all in there to move their businesses forward. So the community really provided different things than what our work together provides. But again, it's me really kind of feeling into what did I need. And it really came from a totally inspired place, right? When in like March last year is when we started it. And it's been great. So since then, I've splintered off, and I have one gal that again is my buddy, but I encourage everybody to, and everybody does this in their own way, to reach out to other members. So we have someone that's a really good marketing person. I've referred people who have created products to other people. And so it's really, not just saying here's where I am, but really starting with that vision in mind, and who can I pull into my world to help me get there. And so, whether we do it in a small group, and I absolutely plan to continue this in a bigger way, actually, in San Diego. There's some stuff I'm working on, and really teach women that, yes, you can. Who are you consciously choose who you're surrounding yourself with. And those people are going to help elevate you. Don't just do something by default, right? Like, I'm going to ask my neighbor. Well, they may not be the best person. So that, I love to be that thing for sure.
Yeah. So I think it's just fun. So what I was trying to get to in I think around that is, obviously, it's trying to find ways to take action and take some steps forward, right? So what I really appreciate about what's going on in your world and how you're starting to mastermind is you've created an evolution or a series of things that you're growing with, but you're taking people with you, right? So one of the greatest lines I've heard is like, I want to be in your jet stream, right? Because you're getting pulled up into a new level or new space. And I really appreciate you using the words. And again, unscripted here, our brand, our new business model is going to be basically the Elevate JV Global, which is a global marketplace, and Elevate JV Global. But our brand has been for years. I started this almost 10 years ago around the Elevate marketplace. And our tagline is the power of we elevates me. And I know it's so funny because we live it every time we get on a call and we start talking about what we do, and we do 15 minutes for you and 15 minutes for me. And then we talk about, people that we touch. But really what I want people to start to take away, let's boil it down a little bit slower and a little bit deeper. And that is that, Christine, people have to take a step. They have to set the intention you talked about in the first part, right? First segment. But then after they take a step, they set the intention. That's a good first step. But then you have to take the next first step, right? The very next step. And that next step has to be something along with creating a relationship with somebody that you can know, like, and trust. And I really believe that that's your calling, right? We talk about it, but your calling is to help women in a massive way that can follow you and live into your space, follow your jet stream, because you will pull them into their space of abundance and love and support. Right. But I'm going to turn the twist on this, because the one thing that I learned in the last 7 years that I believe is something that you're a master at. I'm going to honor you with this.
Oh, okay.
Because I want you to go. Yeah, what a setup. Hold on. It's self-love.
Oh, yeah.
The number one thing, and I had a really wonderful chat, I won't name too many names, but with one of my family members, and everything in life, in my world, starts with loving yourself. And on that, that Soul Affair book, you're going to hear about how I learned how to be grateful So I want to talk about two things, but start first with self-love. And talk to us about how you have encapsulated that and how you can bring that to life for the women in your world, because you got to start with you. It starts with you.
You do. Yeah. There's a lot in here about that journey for me, because
It's in the book.
So I realized like that, and it was actually, this hit me after I went through a lot of my inner work. And I realized that I logically could say, I love you. And I could look in the mirror and say that, but I didn't feel that. And so I like have this like lightning bolt that, oh my gosh, like it's not enough to say, oh yes, I of course I love myself, right? But when I pause long enough to actually feel love for myself, it, like I cried. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing to honor myself this way. And so it is a absolute foundational piece for me, Lorenzo. And because I really loved myself and wholeheartedly owned my worth, it allowed me to step into all those other pieces of myself, to listen to my calling, to follow my calling, to be uncomfortable and courageous and learning and learn things and connect with people, and all those other pieces started to fall into place. So part of what I love about myself is like when I connect with you, when I connect with anybody, you know, on the street, in the grocery store, like I love people. Like we're all from the same place, right? We're all from the same, we're all connected. So if I love myself, then I can spread that love to you. And in doing that, I can help you, you know, turn on that piece of you that you've really maybe have disconnected from. And so I truly love, it's a foundational thing that I do, is helping women really love themselves again in a very authentic way, in a full body way. And it's freeing. It's freeing because all of those things that we've done to try and feel the love are external, whether it's our career, our relationship, certain achievements, certain material things, that we claim that back and really fully love ourselves first, then a lot of that other stuff is the icing on the cake, but it's not the cake.
Yeah.
You know, we are the cake.
Yeah, exactly,
So,
exactly. And you're unique, right? And that's one of the things we learned about in every aspect of our life in human design. We are absolutely unique. You are here for a reason. So I'm going to add two more other elements because I can't help myself. This is the manifesto.
Perfect.
So the other two things I really want to speak to you about, if these are steps in your book or not, I'm not sure. I did read part of it and not all of it. When I did the review, but it's just not sticking with me. But here's the thing: gratitude.
Oh, gratitude. Yeah.
Servant leadership. Right? Serve first, right? Yeah. So giving is receiving. So two things I want to touch base on. And one is, I realized in my journey that when I woke up, when I weird story. So I dated this lady in, I am single. And I dated this lady a few years back, and she would say to me, I do my gratefuls, right? I do my gratefuls every day in the shower. And I'm like, what she's talking about? She goes, I talk about gratitude. And one of the things I learned from Marsha Weeder in my long heart-based weekend was gratitude. And I never understood the word. And I want you to speak to that. I never felt it, right? So you talked about feeling gratitude.
Yeah.
I felt gratitude. So after 4 days with Marsha Weeder and this exercise, heart initiation exercise, I woke up at 2 a.m. the last night with tears in my eyes in gratitude. And I felt the word. And I don't know about you people who are listening, and you've ever understand what I'm saying here. But when you feel a word, when it gets in your body and you emote the word, I didn't understand what gratitude meant until I had cleansed my soul with Marsha Weeder. My soul stories, they'll be in the book. Not a plug, just a true story. And so what I want you to speak about is how gratitude changes you. And how being of servant or servant leader and being of service, the combination of those strengths, loving yourself, being in gratitude, and then being of service, can change your life. And tell us your experiences with those things.
Sure. Gratitude goes hand in hand with the self-love. And first and foremost, on that is, I started, and I've always been a journaler, but a lot of my old journaling was complaining about my life and what wasn't working, and that I didn't have that mindset about gratitude. So through all my, healing and growth, a gratitude practice, and I don't know specifically if a friend suggested it, if it was from a class I took, or where I found it, but I started doing a gratitude list. And at different points I set a different goal for myself. Sometimes it was 5 things, sometimes 10. For a while it was 50 things a day. And it was about things in my life, but it was also a certain percentage of them had to be about me. What was I grateful for about myself? Yes. And so, like you said, in writing the list, though, it wasn't just to write a list to check it off to get it done. It was to sit and feel into these things and really be in awe and wonder about myself, and really kind of looking at myself from a different perspective of, well, look at how I took a stand for myself, where in the past I would have just rolled over and said whatever and not wanted to speak my mind, right? So I got so super specific, and there was always something new every day. And I challenge anybody who's listening to this to find 5 things new every day that you love and appreciate about yourself. So again, the gratitude, it started with me. It had to start there, and then it transitioned my relationships, like with my kids. I always have loved my kids, but I was able to back off a bit on being the parent and being more relating at a different level without having to give them advice and things like that. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole necessarily, but it affected my relationship.
It changed your perspective is what I'm hearing. It changed, and it made you feel, I'll speak for me. It gave me grace to love myself, to your point, but also made me realize how lucky I am. Like, I have all these things, right? I have my life, I have my health. I mean, I joke, no kidding. And I joke every day. I'm grateful that I can look down and still see my feet. Right? It's like, it's a good thing. And now I'm up.
I love it. I love it.
We're solely getting off topic here, but
it's all good.
It's what's supposed to happen today. So I go with the flow. So let's just segue just a bit more. So we understand I'm grateful, but also now serving, right?
Giving is receiving. For sure.
So let me just open up with one of the greatest gifts of my life was taking care of my mother-in-law who had Alzheimer's, and she's since passed. And one of the stories that I share is I'm pretty much the only name she remembered, because I was there every night, all day, during weekends. And I loved to honor her the best way I could. And I'm kind of a playful jokester anyway. And so with Alzheimer's, and this is out of love, people, so don't write it in, don't get mad. But out of love, I would say things differently just to see what would stick. Because I can, and I remember it. And so, but what ended up coming out of that is every once in a while I would say something and it would land on a memory. And with people with Alzheimer's dementia, they don't always remember things short term, but the long term is not bad. And what I end up realizing that I would talk to her. And so one of the other books I've written and almost completed, so another 2022 book, is a book called Charlotte. And that was her name. My goal with Charlotte, the reason I'm bringing this up, there's a big story behind this. It was how grateful I was eventually in the moment. And that's what I learned, was that how she was a gift. Right? At first I saw her as a pain in my butt, right? Like I'm home, taking care of my mother-in-law, I'm not playing golf on weekends. Like, how self-serving is that? But what I realized, when I got into gratitude and realized, oh my gosh, Christine, she's a gift. And the fact that I had to learn how to, and I had to transform, which is what you're doing, teaching people, into changing my attitude about it and going, oh my gosh, I'm just learning how to give freely, with unexpected consequences, right? There's no expectation,
Right.
She remembers me, she doesn't remember me. There's no expectation. It was giving. It was the best gift of my life, one of the two, besides obviously my kids and a few other things. And I want you to speak to the audience when we come back.
Okay.
How exactly, damn commercial things, whatever they are. But I want to talk about, well, eventually we're going to get to tech at some point for 5 minutes or less. But I want you to talk about this whole idea of being servant, right? And and really stepping into that space. So let's do this and we'll come right back. All right, we are back, and we're with the amazing, loving human being, Christine Howard, and we are talking about all kinds of things: life, spirituality, business, and tech. So I left her with this hook about, let's talk about a few minutes about how serving is huge and can make a difference in the way people build their business even.
Perfect. Love that. So I actually, one whole chapter of my book is called Radiant Leadership. And in the book, I talk about we are all leaders, whether we have a formal title or not. We all have that. And what is a leader? And a leader influences, a leader sets an example, a leader helps impact in some way. And when we start to look at ourselves as leaders, even if it's just leading our life, that's when the ripple effect can start to happen. And so I love what you said about being in the moment, right? And in every moment, we have the opportunity to lead in what we say, in our actions, and it can be, we can lead for, the advancement of the world, or, or holding things back. So very much I help women to really claim that leader in themselves, and the leading I want them to connect with is their unique way. So for somebody, it might be the community garden. For somebody, it might be, taking care of a family member, and they set that example for everybody else. For somebody else, it could be running a corporation or changing law in some way, right? So there's no right or wrong way to lead, but it goes back to, what is calling to you? In what way are you feeling called to impact the world? And if you kind of come from that place of really owning who you are, I think again, things will unfold in their time, right? So you might start with one person, and then 10 years down the road, you're impacting thousands of people. But really seeing that your own ability to impact, in a positive way is the starting point.
Yeah. So again, things come to mind. So just we're kind of riffing on what's happening. But what came to me when we were just talking about is that life in relationships, it's a long game, right? And the concept of giving is receiving. Is if you're willing to give first and help people first. And my first real exposure to this was Mark Victor Hansen and Bob Allen. They wrote a book, and that's where I met Alicia. Actually, this is a great story. Connect the dots. So I met Alicia at Mark Victor Hansen in their fast path to cash, and multiple streams of income. And she was producing and running their roadshow, their book show, and that's how we met. I was at their show in LA, and she was there, and that's how we became friends and started talking. But what they talked about in there is they always talked about giving. And so Mark Victor Hansen, actually, and in Scottsdale, I see him every once in a while at a group I'm involved in, and Bob Allen. And so these are great leaders back in the day when they focused on early adopters, saying, lead, give first, right? And be in your abundance, also give to charity. So the whole point, and we'll have to do another show because there's just so much to talk about. But this whole concept of giving, what I realized is that by doing that, you create these relationships, and I've got some of the greatest deals I've had right now, the business deals I have, because I gave things to people, just gave them. And this is connect the dots to our app. So we have an app. I have an Elevate Marketplace app. I have an E360 app, and now we're launching the Elevate Joint Venture Global. Marketplace.
Wow.
So Elevate Joint Venture Global, Elevate JV Global, doesn't roll off my tongue yet, but Elevate JV Global is about a global footprint, helping people help others, right? So our best gift is that. But now we're using technology and mobile apps, and yours is the Radiant Achiever app, right? And it's beautiful, it's lovely, and your people are in it. So let's talk a little bit about giving, because I gave a guy Spot my app, and he gave me 2 years later an amazing opportunity. And so
Wow.
long game, but it's how about giving. So let's talk about apps and talk about giving.
Perfect.
And programs.
Perfect. Well, the thing I love about the app is there's unlimited potential with it. And my vision is continuing to evolve as we have our conversations and I, really learn more about the power of the app. Community is a big thing. And one thing I've said recently is that I want every woman in the world to have access to what I'm teaching, what I'm, bringing, my message. And how can I do that? I can do that through my app. And so there's going to be, I truly see having options for everybody. So the people can work with me at a certain level. I can have all different price points if we want to talk, business stuff right here now, and collaboration. So in the app, we have directories. My brain is, I haven't even had a chance to talk to you, but I so see, and maybe this is like 2 years down the road, what I can build out, but really bringing on different partners that are like-minded, but they offer a piece that I don't offer. And so how can we create, which is what I love about you, this global impact by everybody bringing their brilliance, and we put it into a technology so it's easy for people to access. They can do it when it's convenient for them. They can do it in the methodology, whether it's video or audio. There's so many different ways people can experience and absorb the content, the material, the resources that are there. So I was an IT kind of gal back in the day, so I love this stuff, and it can really become, it is a platform that everybody can access in the way they want to digest it, how much, and easily find the resources they want. So I'm super excited. Yeah.
So let's back up for a second, because I always do this, because a lot of times our audience is listening for the first time. So let's assume they don't know anything. So your mobile app is in the app store. So the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. And the name of the app, if they search in those stores, is?
The Radiant Achiever.
Radiant Achiever. Okay, so I just want to confirm. So if you search Radiant Achiever in the app stores, you'll see that. Yep, there you go. You'll see the app. And so you can download it, and you'll get access to a lot of Christine's content for free. That was the whole point. Graciously giving away information because she wants to have an impact, as do I. So in my world, the Elevate Marketplace, so the Elevate, using the words the Elevate Marketplace, the logo you'll see in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, that's the Elevate logo in the brand. I also have E360, so Elevate 360 community app, and there's the third one coming. But those apps are basically digital delivery of mobile information, contents, webinars, seminars, summits, books, articles, journals, all resources of all types. And so Christine's app is rich with cool stuff. So I really want you to download it for those of you who are watching, and get access to her information and to her and to all the different ways that you can connect with her. And so that's just one of the ways that we work. And what's really great about sort of my world of thinking, and this is why you and I have fun talking, is I do that on a desktop world, I do that in an app world, and I do that offline or disconnected. So our goal, right? Our design system, design personalities is I want to make sure that everything is available to everywhere, however you want to consume it, right? So that's why we're doing Tech Talk with Lorenzo and friends, is because my friends have great information, but it's the tech to get it to you is that we're all about, right? But you can see we're a little bit spiritual and more. So we're gonna get into that sort of the last phase of the show, where I want you to kind of wrap and give us a bit of information of, again, additionally how to connect with you. I'll share your information on screen, but also some of the things you're working on. Because we don't sit and just sort of, this is great. We focus on how do we help in the future and build things. So give us some insight into what you're working on.
Oh, absolutely. So, things are always evolving. And right now, I am working on my next phase of my coaching. So there's two kind of main threads. One is the group that I'm doing, and I've again had this mastermind locally. And I'm going to take that to the next level. There's a lot of things that I experimented with, different. Like we started with a grounding meditation, which is awesome. And now taking the lessons learned over the last year and a half and doing Mastermind 2.0. So
Right.
I'm super, super excited for that to roll out in the August timeframe. And then really, I took a big step back and I looked at including working in my design. Okay, what tweaks do I want to make in my one-on-one coaching, which is a key thing that I do and I love. And so I am working on the 2.0 version of that and really bringing in some of the elements of my human design and how I can help women to seriously like unpack their lives in a big way, craft that radiant reality, and then, using my tools and methodologies to actually bring that to life. So that's going to be something rolling out probably in the September timeframe, and bringing in some again these new elements that I'm super super jazzed about. And just kind of a little side comment, like in business, like I'm a very creative person, and you know me, you've helped me to like instead of doing 5 things, pick 2 or 3, right? And so there's constantly these ideas, but it's about like kind of honoring what's coming up and giving it its space to develop and test it out and try it out and what works, what doesn't work. So like my whole view of failure, there's no such thing as failure, and
Right.
it's this constantly evolving thing, and so I'm taking the things that worked well these last couple of years and okay, how do I want to now elevate that for myself and and how I serve, and those are the 2 main things I'm working on right now.
Love it. So I'm going to actually position this for something that's coming to me. One of the things I talk about, I have a lot of buzzword tagline things that some I make up, some I borrow, some I share. But one of the things I created this year was this concept of don't be a perfectionist, be an actionist. Don't be a perfectionist, be an actionist. And taking that first step, which is how we started kind of our conversations, and we talk about serving and giving and being grateful. Christine is the kind of person, if you're interested in taking that first step, is the perfect first person for you to get into and start to negotiate your journey, right? Not negotiate with her, but negotiate your journey. Because when I took my journey and the journeys that you've taken, we all of us use more than one person, right? We all are dependent.
Totally.
We have BFFs or business best friends, right? We have people in our lives, but they're in our lives for a time, a reason, or a season. But what I want people to hear is that Christine is the perfect person if you're trying to step into your journey and you're starting to figure things out, and you need somebody, you need that container, you need that coach, that guiding light, that abundant resource, because she knows so many people. Christine is the right first step for you if that's who you are and where you're showing up, right? So I really appreciate that you take people almost from ground zero, in my opinion, if I'm saying this correctly, and correct me, to ground zero to their journey, right? To their abundance and radiance, and to achieve. And you can't do it without starting somewhere.
Right.
And Christine is like the starter. She's like the lighter, the lightning bolt, the person that she's a manifester, folks. She manifests, right?
So I'm a soul calling catalyst.
There you go. She's got the new tag, soul calling catalyst. That's what she is. And yes, of course. And so that's somebody who can catalyze who you are and help you step into that. So, as we kind of roll down, but that's the whole point. It's perfect. It's like Lorenzo and friends. We do tech together, but no, it's about talking. It's about the manifesting. It's about helping. So, yeah, I want people to see this now and in the future and just go, no, I need to get that hold of Christine Howard, because she can help me take this journey, right? And a journey only starts with a 10,000 mile journey, right, folks? It starts with one step. Starts with fun stuff. So, anything else you would like to share before I say my goodbyes and do a little plug about how I can help people and what we're doing? And I
Well,
want people to contact us.
great. I mean, great topics. I so enjoyed everything. And it just kind of linking into what you just said, like wherever anybody is at is the perfect place.
Mhm.
And we can feel bad or feel, whatever you're feeling, feel it. It's that's part of where you're at in your journey right now. And understand you have so much more, right? If there's something stirring, if you're feeling angst, out of alignment, stuck, bad, perfect, feel it, and then decide there's something I'm willing to take a stand for me and move forward and learn something from this. Every pain is giving you a message. So let's explore that together. And I so appreciate your support and our ongoing work together, Lorenzo.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been super fun, and we were hoping to do this show in person, but time and travel didn't allow for that. So let me just kind of wrap in something that I'm working on, and I really would like you maybe a quick comment on this. But we, with a good friend of mine, Scott Schilling, who is a masterful speaker, he's been on the biggest stages with some of the biggest people in the world. He's sold millions of dollars from the stage. And we have collaborated in the last few years. We met in a series of shows. We've done a couple of shows. For those of you who want to watch back, we've got 2 shows with Scott. They're just amazing on our channel. But what's important about that is we realize that our calling, his calling and mine in combination, like yours, is global in reach. So the ask for you is to help us be part of our JV Global, right? Elevate JV Global. So I want your stuff and your information in there. So I ask you to be part of that. Love that possibility, and that you get more reach, more exposure, but now you get global reach. That's our goal. And 2 is that as Scott and I have collaborated, what we're doing with the Elevate JV Global is giving people a place to have their content, their information to be seen and be available to others, right? So our hearts, our desire is to help the entrepreneur grow their business on a global footprint using several things that we have, including tools. And that's really what we're launching. So the reason I'm talking about this right now is if you have an interest, if you have a desire to be part of something on a global basis, if you have a message like Christine, if you have a vision that you're called to do, then let us help you bring that to life. Because Scott and I, we want to serve first, we want to help first, because at the end of the day, what we want to do is, and this is a technical term, we want to make a shit ton of money so we can give it back, right? So we're about giving back. We're about making a difference. But the only way to create abundance, and I'll leave this because this is coming up as something to say, is, your cup is half full or half empty. That's an old saying. Now the new saying, the new way to say it, the way I think about it, is your cup is not half full. It's overflowing with abundance. And you have to imagine that your life and your vision and what you're doing and your purpose is in abundance. And in your abundance, your overflow of abundances, you're just giving away that abundance. You're giving away your love. And so you're not actually giving things away, and like you're taking away your resources and your time. You're giving through abundance. And as a result of that, you're having the impact that Christine has at the Radiant Achievers. You're having the impact that you want. We want you in our world. If you want to reach that, if that resonates with you, then reach out to me, right? Lorenzo Hickey and all the different ways are at Shapeshift World. But the goal of this is to make a difference in people's lives, right? Make a difference every day. And one of the things I say in our show is, go mad, go make a difference, and and that's from Barry Shore, one of the greatest guys I've met. So I have just amazing human beings in my life. You're one of them. I am honored to call you a friend, Christine. I thank you for your time. I can't wait to see you and introduce you to my parties and my peeps, and spend more time and just have a great, great rest of your day.
Thank you, Lorenzo. So fun to be here with you today.
Will you do it again?
Yeah, of course I will, in a heartbeat.
All right, everybody. Have a fabulous rest of your day. We love and appreciate you. Remember, you are special. Go mad. Go make a difference. Bye for now.
Bye.